screaming was last night when they came back.
Oh, there was
Yeah,
there was some yelling.
I bet.
All right, we're up.
Okay, we're going to get started. This is the October 8th meeting of the Public Safety Committee. And we have our three members of the committee present. We have one member of the public. We're going to start off first public comment. Is there anyone who would like to speak to the committee?
Yes.
Yeah, and the mayor needs to be moved over.
I'll
Emily
move
Schwartz
her
needs to
over.
come over.
All right. They're both coming over.
Okay.
Hi, be right there.
I'm actually here in two roles, so I know
Okay.
that you're letting me join as a panelist because of providing for the Maplewood Community Board on Policing role, but I'm also wearing a separate hat as a Maplewood resident. So I don't, however,
So let's deal with you as a Maplewood resident first, then
sure,
we'll move you back to the panelists, and then we'll move you back. We'll
I'll do
move you back to
whatever.
the audience and then move you back as a panelist when we get to the community board on police.
Okay, so you can kick me out and then I'll,
Yep, just stick around.
sure.
So tell us about your resident. What comment do you have as a resident?
Sure. So I just wanted to let you all know, I sent an email earlier this week. My children both attend Seth Boyden Elementary. I've lived in Maplewood for about 7 years. I live on Tuscan Road. And I'm really coming to the committee for 2 points. One is that I have two kind of separate but coinciding asks. One is that, obviously many students in the South Orange Maplewood School District, they walk to school. And I know that this has been a long-standing concern for our walking families because it's not just the kids that are vulnerable when they walk to school. But many families have experienced, particularly walking to Seth Boyden, issues getting to school. Recently, my 8-year-old, who is old enough to walk to school by himself, he walks with a buddy. I have a younger child, so I'm always usually about a block away. He was crossing at Tuscan and Oakland, which has a crosswalk at the library getting to Maple Crest, but then also over at Tuscan. That roadway, because drivers are basically peeling off of Springfield, are really pedal to the metal driving through to Tuscan. It has been this way for a very long time. Actually, my house has had 2 car accidents on it. One was in the middle of the night, but I think it does still highlight that there's been a history of people speeding. It was 2 cars that our neighbors saw like racing. Another time, one of the signs that says don't park was driven over. But I watched my son really almost get hit by a car when he and a classmate were in a crosswalk. The driver did not slow down. The driver kept accelerating. I was with another parent who watched me really almost kind of fully lose composure. I'm sure you can all imagine being close enough to see something happen, but being far enough away that you have literally no power and it's your kid. So I'm asking this committee to really delve deep into figuring out what to do with Tuscan. I'm asking the committee to look to the district, the school district, and see if there is a world where we can have crossing guards at the library and the Maple Crest area. Many kids, I watch them, they stop and then they see it's clear and they just run because they're so afraid of that car that's peeling out from Springfield or even from Oakland, because there are cars that oftentimes are subverting going on more popular roadways to then getting around around Maple Crest. The other ask that I have, and I think it's related, is, and I was told by another parent at Seth Boyden that maybe this is already happening, that the town is looking at Tuscan Road already. And if that's the case, I'm not trying to like belabor the point, since if that's true, the town's already looking, then that's wonderful. But I think we've been told on our street that we can't have speed humps because there is a need for the fire department to be able to get down Tuscan. We've seen other roadways though in the area that has not been an issue, but we've also been told that those roadways had similar concerns with the department. But we also have a farmer's market that's once a week that blocks off the entire way. So I'm not sure why that's permissible. And I don't want to end the farmer's market. It's wonderful. But why then there can't be other traffic things that are kind of taken into account? A three-way stop sign, perhaps, at Oakland and Tuscan. Maybe that would alleviate some of these general concerns. And speeding in general on Tuscan. I know the department, from what I understand, there's a reluctance to issue tickets because oftentimes it is our residents. But the reality is 25 miles an hour, when cars go over that, there's a reason that that is a speed limit that is set. If cars are going faster than that, we are looking at extremely severe injuries. An 8-year-old child that weighs 60 pounds, maybe, getting hit by a car going faster than that, the injuries are extraordinary, and I don't even really want to go there. So I sent an email. I'm sure it was verbose. I don't mean to belabor the point. But I know this is happening. I know because other parents in my neighborhood have told me. I know families have told me. I know adults have told me that these crosswalks are, I wish drivers were following the rules. They're not. So if the town can look to alternative ways to ensure that drivers have no choice but to slow down when they're coming off of roadways that are faster. And not just for kids, but for the grown-ups as well. And thank you. I'll put on my other hat now.
Okay, so before you go, so we talked about Tuscan and the whole stretch of Tuscan from Maple Crest down, actually the valley. So we had our traffic engineer look at some of that, and they're going to make some changes as far as some crosswalks. We're also talking about the crosswalk you mentioned on Oakland, to put some lighted crosswalks, the push button crosswalks there. So that we're aware of it, and we've received emails from others, and we're taking a look at it. We have not. For two things. I don't think we've done or have done a full analysis of other traffic calming measures, including speed humps, but that usually comes at the end after we look at other things. So we'll continue to do that with our township engineer and the consulting engineer from Dynamic Traffic. The second thing is, and the chief can respond to this. It is our position with the police, and the police have been responding to doing more moving violations, because we hear it from people all the time that people are driving too fast, they're not respecting pedestrians, whether they're in the crosswalk or wherever. It's just sort of a cutthroat world out there now to drive. So we're aware of that, and we've talked to the police. We've talked to the chief about Tuscan Road. He's aware of it, but it is on our radar, and we're trying to address some of this.
Thanks. I appreciate it. And I won't, I mean, if there's things that for folks that live on the street, we all kind of have been we want to feel empowered by being able to flag this more often. There's been things that have happened before, and I haven't decided to be Norma Ray about it. But if there are things that we can do as residents that help, inform the committee as to specifically what we're seeing, there is that one I'm happy to refer to the actual accident that happened on my front lawn, but there's just if there's ways that we can make that not aggravating but helpful in the process, I'm happy to be a resource,
Okay.
because it's been an issue for some time.
Okay, we're on it. It's going to take a little time. It's also a money issue. We're getting near the end of the year, and we've used up our traffic calming budget. So it's there's some realities there too. But we're going to see what we can do before in the short of a short-term response and a longer-term response.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I see we have another attendee. This is the time if anyone would like to make a public comment. I see Vanessa. I don't know, Vanessa, if you wanted to speak to us. You could just raise your hand if you do. Okay, I don't see it going up, so we'll move forward with the police department. So Deb and Malia, you brought up the parking enforcement in Maplewood Village. So I'm going to let you handle this. I think you were looking for some information of the parking enforcement officers and the universal police officer that's there. How are they addressing time limits on streets and parking lots, illegally parked cars, delivery vehicles, and then also, Chief, you give us, and Patrick, if you give us a status of the license plate reader. So, Chief, you want to talk about how we're enforcing parking enforcement and
Yes.
sort of the traffic there where illegal parking. There was just a huge blow up online about in social media about the parking illegality that goes on constantly in the village. And we're getting now even a greater number of Uber and Grubhub pickups and drop-offs, and it's getting to be a little crazier.
Okay, so the good news is we just recently hired two new parking enforcement officers. We hired another full-timer and a part-timer. It's just going to take us a couple weeks to get them up to speed because they're both in training right now currently. The full-timer just started Monday. The part-timer will start next week, and we'll get them up to speed. But currently we have a full-time parking enforcement officer and a part-time parking enforcement officer, and they work mostly during the daytime, during the day shift. Our universal officer works from 10 to 6. He works Wednesday to Saturday. So he would be more up to enforcing those later after work type problems that are happening in the center, and also our regular patrol as well. So we'll make a more emphasis of enforcement in the center, and especially when we have our parking enforcement up to speed. One of the part-time parking enforcement officers that we're hiring, he will be working evenings. He'll be working Tuesday through Saturday. So that will assist us in more enforcement in those areas. Springfield Avenue, we gave grace during the paving and the construction on spring as far as parking in the lots. But since that's concluded, we'll be back to enforcing those areas as well.
And Chief, what about the delivery vehicles? I mean, honestly, what happens if there's a car with the flashers on and a police car comes by, oftentimes they just drive around.
Yeah, I got to make more of a point of that. They can't, double park or park in those type of areas. There has been a history of giving courtesy to delivery people because they're making a quick drop off, but we'll force that going forward.
So,
we-
go ahead.
oh, sorry. I've always thought we need, this is not for this meeting, but that we need just like a drop-off area or like a Uber pickup area. We've talked about that before in various groups, but it might be something we want to consider in, I guess, engineering.
Yeah, the enforcement's going to be the kicker either way. Chief, one thing that we have been hearing is that some of the delivery drivers, they don't even park in a spot, like an illegal spot. They just stop in the middle of the road,
Yeah.
like just on Maplewood Avenue. Like they'll just pull up in front of a restaurant and just stop in the middle of the road and put their blinkers on and stay there for a period of time until they get the food. So, that's something that is really concerning. I wonder if you have any stats on the enforcement that you guys are doing. Is that something that you can, share with us?
I don't have the stats on me, but I can definitely look those up for that
So like when
area.
we look at the other enforcement
Yeah.
actions that you're doing and we see all that green, it'd be great to see
Right.
to see some of that because we got to get a lot of residents coming at us at at the enforcement, and so to be able to show the data would be really helpful. And then just to clarify, so you have a full-time and a part-time, and then we just hired a full-time and a part-time. So does that mean
Correct.
we're gonna have two full-time and two part-time?
Correct.
Okay.
And they cover the whole town.
Yes.
And when you said 10 to 6, like 10 a.m. to 6 p.m.,
Yes.
there's no one even on duty when probably these things are happening with the
Well,
dashes picking up at night.
well, we have our regular patrol officers.
Right.
Yeah, that we have postcards. So
But
we
they're
have
doing
car-
everything. Are they doing parking enforcement?
Oh yeah, definitely. They do all enforcement. We have postcards that, we have certain cars that are in the west, we say west, east, north, south, and that's their post. So they are do enforcement in their post.
So I was in the village recently, and there was a police officer who was in the Rickleton lot and then happened to pull out in front of me. So we drove down Maplewood Avenue together, and I saw two cars illegally parked, and the police officer drove right by. So that's the kind of thing that, maybe the officer was on his way to somewhere, had a call, had something else, but that's the kind of thing where I think residents are seeing, and one of the cars was like, it was like half in a spot that was covered by a streetery, and half in the handicap spot. So like that's like a
Okay.
really egregious.
Yeah, I can't speculate what the officer was doing, but it possibly
So,
could have been going to a call, but possibly missed it.
yeah.
You know.
But pointing out,
Yeah.
your officer should know that we're all driving around town, and
Yeah.
and our residents are seeing all this stuff.
And what's the status of the license plate reader?
We're just getting quotes this week still, getting them refined. It's expensive. So, we've got quotes that are up to $65,000. So getting those down, kind of whittled down to just what we need, getting them on state or co-op contract has been a task. There was no budget line or capital line for license plate readers. So I think there was some misconception because I have, understanding the conversations the township committee has been having about enforcement. I started to get quotes on these, but this isn't anything that the township committee has previously discussed or allocated money towards. We're near the end of the year. It is possible that we have available funds to transfer into a line where we could spend. That's my hope. But it also may be that we have to wait until next budget year to allocate this as a capital expense. The other piece that I'm thinking about, and I originally hadn't expected these would come back as expensive as they are, is the most recent parking enforcement vehicle we have, I believe, is a 2019. So there's a question of, do we want to put $65,000 of equipment in a car that's going to be 8 years old? So, we'll give that some thought as well, because it may be that we need to come back. Just to talk about the LPR is part of the reason why it's so expensive. The technology to do regular license plate reading is less expensive. You get a setup for, maybe $30,000, where, you have usually two cameras on the vehicle that are just scanning license plates and checking them against, let's say it's a resident parking permit, or if it's in a lot against, who's paid in the lot. For downtown, we're talking about time limit parking, and that requires a lot more equipment, a lot more cameras in the vehicle, because they have to, for each license plate, they also have to capture the location of the valve stem on a tire and log that, so that when they come back around, they check to see where that same vehicle and that same valve stem is, to see if it's moved within the last, let's say it's 15 minutes or 2 hours, so they can issue a ticket. And that's a result of not being able to chalk tires. So having all that equipment and then software in a vehicle becomes very expensive very quickly. So all that to say, I should have it's more information at the next meeting.
So none of that equipment is transferable for the LPR to another.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So
Okay.
let's say, but the concern will be, are we going to put it in a 2019 vehicle now and end up, paying to move it in a year and a half? And you can transfer it, but it's expensive. Yeah. And I'm not saying that means it's prohibitive. It just
I
means
think we
it's
need
something
to
to
know
consider.
what that cost is as well.
Yep. Absolutely. I mean, I have the same question.
I think we're we're trying to balance this against the proposal by the village too of putting paid parking there.
Yeah.
And presumably the rationale for paid parking is to move cars, to make it easier to park. So enforcement can also do that if we do it well.
Yep.
It's really not about raising revenue. It shouldn't be, but there is a reality of that. If you give away more parking tickets or you give out more parking tickets, you are going to raise some more revenue, and that there could be a point where I would assume these readers last for 5 years. There could be a
Yeah.
point over 5 years where they pay for themselves.
Yes.
Okay.
I
So-
heard you
so-
say about the chalk. That's not, I thought that was the standard procedure. That's not
No
allowed.
more.
No, not
No
for
more.
years. It got
Yeah.
challenged in court.
I got kicked out. You're defacing my property.
I used to go wipe that off.
There you go. So Chief, you're going to just follow up and then you're going to provide some stats on enforcement I think we're primarily focused on Maplewood Village. So is that correct? We can narrow our,
We are right now, but I will say that on Springfield Avenue, cars, delivery trucks are double parking all the time on Springfield Avenue.
well, I'm talking about yes, but I'm talking about the parking.
Enforcement.
Talking
Right,
about
that's what we're talking
customer
about there.
parking.
The delivery, you're talking about the delivery cars are double parking, or people are just parking illegally or double parking in the village. I don't think it just happens in the village. I
No,
think
no,
that's
I'm not talking about,
No.
what I'm saying is the the stats on enforcement of
Yes.
overtime parking,
yes.
it should be in the village. All
Yeah.
the stuff, even those blinking cars on Springfield Avenue that the police go around, shouldn't happen. I agree with you.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I misunderstood what you were confirming. And I do just think that I know I said this right at the wrong meeting, but there's a problem here because there's nowhere for all of these cars to go, right? We talk about parking, but those 15-minute zones or whatever for pickup or drop offs, because there's nowhere for them to go. There's not a lot of parking in the village. So
Well, we can certainly, I mean, then it becomes where do you put these? And, you essentially removing parking spaces. It is
I
a
mean,
problem.
we had them during COVID, obviously for pickup. 15-minute spots were in downtowns all over the place. And then after that, each town sort of analyzed where would they make sense? Would it make sense to keep some of them, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so maybe there's an opportunity to have some of those, to have some areas where the pickup vehicles can, along with residents who are just picking up, food, that maybe there's a few spots scattered. Usually it's on the end of each, section is a 15-minute spot. Just another option to think about.
Yes, Summit has them.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
also
Anything else on,
propose your dean and see if the MBA has talked about it recently or if they're still interested in that. I'll get back to you. That would
okay.
be engineering, right? That would be an engineering meeting discussion, or what would that be?
It'd probably be dual thing. We want the police input too.
Yeah.
Because the thing is about enforcement. And I think the only way these things work is if you enforce it, because people park there and once they realize they're not going to get a ticket, they just stay there. And I don't know how, there's no way our parking enforcement people can go around every 15 minutes. So it's mostly on the honor system like it is now. That's the difficulty. It's not like at the airport where if you park in the wrong place in the airport, they give you a ticket right away. So, okay, so we're going to go into the police activity at the high school football. And Chief, if there's anything that you need to talk to us in closed about this, just say that. But I think Malia has some questions.
Yeah, thanks. So I put this on a while back when we heard that there were some issues at the Columbia High School football game. I think this is maybe like 3 weeks ago, perhaps, and there were some underclassmen that were taken to the hospital and there were reports and parents were hearing a bunch of things that, that officers were on scene. And so I thought it would be a good idea to check in and see, just how the police department is working with the school district on this, and what parents can expect at the football games.
Yeah, so every home game, we have officers that are present for security and assist the school officials there. So we take our direction from the school officials. Of course, they know all the kids and everything. Our first priority is just to make sure that the kid is okay. He's found intoxicated. We call the first aid, whether they're sent to the hospital or a parent is called on scene. That's what the school does because they have the information. And pretty much the officers or the police departments, we just assist the administration there, the school administration. So if a kid's intoxicated, we notify the admin that's there, and then we follow their lead from there. And then they take care of it in the school. Tomorrow there is a meeting with the police and the school officials, and also Candace Davenport to discuss these issues regarding some kids coming to the games intoxicated. So there is a meeting tomorrow. But that's pretty much our stance on that. We assist, we help out, and then the school admin takes over from there.
Okay, so the officers are basically there to, like, do you go up to the kids or,
Well, the officers are there because we're hired. We're hired by the school to be there. So we're there
Okay.
for security reasons. So we're each game they hire 3 to 4 officers for Friday night games, and we just happen to be there. If we observe it, we're the first to observe. We'll contact the school administrator right away, and if the school administrator needs our assistance, then we assist. So we pretty much follow their lead at the school event. That's our involvement.
Okay, because it is it is in Maplewood, so but this is considered an off-duty.
Yeah, it's an off-duty job that we're hired by the school district for security reasons, and we're there pretty much for security. And again, if the admin asks us to help assist, we assist, and if we observe it first, we call the admin, and it's been like that for years. That's how we.
Yeah, it's not the Maplewood Police Department's responsibility to just be security guards at the high school games. So they have
Right,
to hire them
we're
off
just
duty.
right. We're just talking about I mean, the question is more also it's about their involvement and also the substance abuse. So I'm really glad to hear that you're meeting with the school and with our health department. Candace, I think that's really great because I think it's the substance abuse that parents are really worried about. So I don't know if it's gotten, worse. Miss Engel, you want to
Yeah.
jump in?
We talked a bunch about this at YouthNet because Officer Lewin is our PD representative at YouthNet, and he was at that game. And he has a lot of compassion and care for kids. It's really amazing to hear him talk. But he had a lot of ideas too, and we were talking about an education campaign geared towards parents also. So we were talking about ways that maybe they can have a table at back to school night, or ways that we can reach parents, because we also think that parents either don't know that their kids are drinking, or some parents are giving the alcohol. So there's different, just how do we reach the kids in advance? And we have a municipal alliance meeting coming up also. So I was hoping that Candace was going to put this on the agenda to talk about there, because it's a big problem that goes along with the vaping that we've been seeing in the schools. Now it's the underage drinking. So it's how do we prevent it, and how do we educate the kids and the parents about what's going on, or the risks to it, to create safer measures, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Pat, another thing for the list. Communications.
Well, a lot of this falls on the responsibility of the school. So, I mean, I think they're the ones that have the direct contact with the parents.
Right.
And let's hope that we don't have to have contact with the parents. I mean, they do it in a different way. When we have to have contact with the parents, usually is because there's an issue. So we ought to make sure that, I'm glad that, I agree with you. I'm glad that there's going to be a meeting, and we should push it onto the school. Similar to what we were talking about with the parking today at the high school. You know, the school is saying, oh, what are we going to do? Well, it's your responsibility too. The whole district's got to get behind this.
Yeah, I agree. This helps. Thank you.
Okay. Crossing guards. Malia, you up again?
Oh, yes. So I've gotten several emails. I think all of us have gotten those same emails about crossing guards that haven't, where the crossing guards haven't been there and an officer has been filling in for them, and they haven't been there for the publicized hours. So, again, this is from a couple of weeks back, but I think all of us were on these emails from parents, calling us out on this.
Yeah, so so it was a couple weeks back. We had to do some things internally, and also do some investigation why this was happening, and it has been corrected. So again, it happened a few weeks ago, unfortunately, but as you see, we haven't had those calls or those communications. We've been out there vigorously checking the corners and making sure everybody's where they're supposed to be.
Great. Yeah, we haven't gotten those emails in a couple of weeks.
And
So,
also, I do get call when I'm on the road. I've been on the road a lot in the morning. We did get a couple calls about a crossing guard out at the corner, and I just happened to be at that corner, and the guard was there. It just happens to be sometimes where you're looking at the guard might be like kind of behind a tree or something like that. But those cases that I confirmed that the guard was there, so the system seems to be working at this point.
I thought the story was going to be you got out of your car with your stop sign and helped people across the street.
Well, I did that during the paving of Springfield
there you
Avenue, so I
go.
did jump on the
Good.
car.
Because we had a lot of cops sitting in their cars, so I'm glad to see that you got out.
Hey,
I had to direct traffic at Rutgers and Spring.
I picked up some of the slack, so.
Yeah. Okay. And then we've talked, and I know, Deborah, you've talked about this, the crossing guard analysis. Patrick, you're working on this, so why don't you take this?
Thank you. So this is a discussion we started with Miss Engel about looking at all of the home addresses for students and what school they're assigned to evaluate where they walk and overlay that with where we have crossing guards to make sure that crossing guards are staffed appropriately. It's been our response or it's been the chief's response that, while there may be some changes year over year, PDs, those are minimal, and PD is able to track those and make changes as necessary. But there was an interest in looking at the actual data and confirming that that is the case. So the school district did give us that data. It was very helpful, not just addresses and school assignment, but if they were assigned to busing and some other information as well, all anonymous information, so names or other details, but enough where we could plot some of those routes. We got it over to our traffic engineer. We had a call with them and with engineering and to talk about what we were looking for in the data. They gave us an estimate of what they expect the cost would be to do this work, and it's somewhere between $7,000 and $8,000. So this is an item that was not included in the budget discussion. It is somewhat of a large expense, and while maybe necessary, it's a little bit of belt and suspenders against what PD is doing. So I think it's at least worth a discussion with the township committee. So I understand that this is something you all want to move forward on.
So
I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
what would be the $7,000 for? Like, what's the expense for?
For Dynamic to plot walking routes from a student's home to their school, and then we would overlay that with where we have crossing guards to ensure that the crossing guards are assigned to the best corners, to the most, likely corners where students would walk.
I don't know that we need to spend money to route each student. I guess I was just looking at, because the way the process has been in the past was just to have the stations at all the corners that we've had previously and change, but placements change. So people were going for other areas. But since then, the school district has also said they're doing a new hazardous route study. So wouldn't all of that be like related and combined about getting kids to school safely? Like this all started because Prospect Street, for example, hasn't had no crossing guards from Tuscan to Parker, but a whole group of students that used to go to SOMS was going to MMS. So that's how this whole conversation started. Just the way that kids are getting placed isn't in your neighborhood schools anymore. So were we able to like look at the data and see generally, it doesn't need to be, or we would need to hire Dynamic for $8,000 for them to tell us that.
Well, when you say generally, I guess maybe we should discuss kind of what that means, because if we're talking about crossing guards, we're talking about walking routes. And I don't know what you would look at other than walking routes between the home and the school.
So
But-
you,
Like I don't know how I would make that more.
like
What's
is
that?
you do it with each household versus zones? Like, do we have percentage of like this amount of kids that live in College Hill go to Tuscan, Boyden, right? Like, I'm just.
You can, if that's an interest, we can explore it further. I think, especially when we talked about Prospect, we were talking very specifically about, guards a few corners away. And so and where the proper placement of them were, and, if guards were shifting a few blocks. My impression was that we were looking, the reason we want data is to get as specific as we can. So if we have all this data and we're going to undertake the effort, I did not ask for a more general review of that. If that's an interest of the committee, we can go back to Dynamic and explore what that would look like. We would have to draw for Dynamic, maybe neighborhoods, and to try to help them with that. But we can explore what that looks like if you're interested.
So my question, I guess, would be because the schools, the enrollment changes every year. So this would be basically like a shot in the dark. This would be a snapshot for this year, but every year it changes who's going where from different places. And I don't know if I feel like we should be taking on an annual expense, or if we're talking about doing this every, 5 years or something. Like I don't, I mean, that's kind of a lot. And then the other thing I wanted to point out is that I'm not sure how helpful it would be to be mapping out the shortest route for every individual child who's walking, because the children don't usually walk alone. They have walking partners. And based on their walking partners, they establish their own routes, which may not be the shortest, but it makes sense to them because they pick up people along the way. And then I've noticed a lot of the middle schoolers going to MMS, they like to walk down Parker because it's like cool since it's by the high school. So like the routes aren't really the shortest routes. So I don't know, that's not going to really tell us, it's kind of a lot to tell us routes that we're not even sure that they're using.
I think that's why it makes sense for the police to make sure that there's, from each area of town, there's a crossing guard located and that connect the dots to each school. And then the kids walk to where the crossing guards are, right? And they pick up their friends or however their, whatever their routine is, as opposed to trying to identify where the kids are coming from, because to Deputy Mayor Herman's point, it changes year over year.
So it sounds like we're not looking to spend the money. We're not recommending to spend the money at this point. I would think that if there's something else that you can come up with, Patrick, because you have the data.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if there's any other way to farm that data to come up with some of this information.
Yeah, like I don't know if there's a way, like again, like to Deputy Mayor's point, like and the mayor's point. I I just think if there's a way to figure out like how they're like, because I think they are trying to do a better job about placing kids to one of their like 2 or 3 closest schools. And if there was a way to create like a formula where every year you can put the data in, so it's just telling you, I don't know, maybe it's not necessary, and maybe there's just coordination with the school districts when they're doing the hazardous routes. Like I think we should be talking to them closely and making sure that we identify some of our problem areas. Prospect, Ridgewood, I've always wondered if that changed because the whole MMS and SOMS placement up there changed also. You know, Springfield and Tustin, we were just talking about all the like hot areas. Make sure that they're focused on in the school's hazardous routes because last time they weren't focused on all of our problem areas. They just did whatever they think they should do. You know what I mean? I don't know if I'm making sense.
I think that we should take a look at the school's hazard routes. And now, like, can we find out what their timeline is on that? Can you ask at the municipal?
Did he talk about? I missed the last.
The- Yeah, they've discussed that with us, and either they are or will be in contact with the police department to discuss it further.
Yeah, I spoke to them and the superintendent a couple of weeks ago, and I think they were ready to bring out the report, but I did bring up Prospect. So I told them there's a lot of kids coming from the Parker Avenue area across towards Tuscan, and they said they're going to update it, and they're looking at that. So and they said that's going to be another month or so when they update that part of it. But I did bring up Prospect on that.
And did you bring up other areas too, like Ridgewood or Tuscan? We were talking about that today.
Well, Tuscan and Oakland. I know it's an issue, but it just recently came to me that it was an issue that that this was a complaint. So I did not bring that up, but I did bring up Prospect from the last year when we were talking about this.
How does the school's hazardous routes get done? Are they just sort of picking crosswalks, or is there like a systematic backed study that they're doing?
They do. They work with a firm and they do this whole study. But last time, for example, they went intersection by or corner from Parker Avenue or from where South Orange starts all the way to South Orange Avenue, but they didn't do the Maplewood side of Prospect Street. And so I don't know. I think they just look at last reports and reanalyze things or just like guess. And that's where I just feel like we in Maplewood can put together a list of streets that we want them to look at if we know there's issues. I mean, Boyden, like where have kids gotten hit recently, I mean, and I don't know, maybe I'm just not sure, but I never really got an answer about why Prospect Street was only done like literally corner to corner to South Orange and not in Maplewood.
Well, I don't know if there was an answer. I think some of it is just legacy. It's just where crosswalks were, and they're very hard to move once you establish a crosswalk. And I think the question is, do we need more crossing guard? What I say crosswalk. Crossing guards are hard to move. Do we need more crossing guards? We're hearing that. I mean, no matter what the study says, we're hearing that there are some difficult areas for people to cross. And, should we be thinking about more crossing guards?
And I think that the hazardous route studies also go towards students that need busing because they don't have a safe route to school. So if there is a crossing guard, then it creates a safer route. If the kids walk that way, right? I mean, there's never any information put out to parents like this is how you should walk to school. We put up the list of crossing guards, but
the crossing guard, the decision to have how many crossing guards and where to put them, that rests with you, right? The police,
Yes,
not the school.
not the school.
Although they advise you.
Correct.
Okay.
and they use those placements in their hazardous routes analysis.
Right.
Well, I think the data the chief was collecting, weren't you going like crossing guard by crossing guard, and you were collecting like counts so you
Yeah,
could kind of see just
but
sort of
But it goes back to what Mr. DeLuca was saying. Like that was kind of like trying to reduce some of the crossing guards, and it's hard to move a crossing guard. But I think the point we're trying to move a crossing guard to go to an area like intersection X, and then move them to Tuscan and Oakland because that's the problem. But when we check, we got to do another count because we were counting at the end of the school year. This is the beginning of the new school
Right.
year, so we don't know if there's more kids coming this year or that section and keep them there, and then so it changes every year.
And if
And,
we have,
and, and,
there's no way to like sort and filter the data to just see it without having to do the counts.
and then sometimes I'm nervous about moving the guard because we move that guard, and then the two kids that are crossing there, hopefully, praying that nothing happens. But if we move the guard, then we're in a tough situation.
Yeah, well, now is probably a good time to do counts, right? Because the weather's perfect before it gets cold.
I have another question. I don't know if it was last budget season or 2 budget seasons ago, but Chief, you were advocating that maybe we should outsource crossing guards. Is that something that you're still considering?
Yes, yeah, I would like it, but yes, definitely.
Of
And-
course you would like it.
So that was just more expensive than handling
It
an
is,
invoice, right?
yes.
For the same amount of crossing guards, or is it like a overhead expense that
Yeah,
you're
it was a good amount. Yeah, more
It's very
expensive. So I
expensive.
think that was yeah.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars more.
so adding more crossing guards to the roster would just be cheaper, but it's hard to find.
And we've done pretty good. I mean, we've added 2 guards that are like substitutes that they'll double up, and then if a corner opens up, they'll fill it.
Right.
And then also we just hired another part-time parking enforcement officer that also crosses. That also is a crossing guard once we get them up to speed. So I mean, we're doing better, but that's still with the existing crossing areas we have now. That's not adding anymore.
Right.
Crossing, crosswalks.
Okay. So, how do you want to leave this? Deborah, this is something that you've been pushing. I mean, it doesn't sound like you want to go for this map. It's an expensive one-time thing, and I'm not sure how useful it will be.
Agree. I think we should. I would like to coordinate with the school districts with their hazardous routes and make sure that we know what our problem areas are and that they're identifying them too.
So should we wait to get that report and then sort of dive into it a little bit and sort of match up what we're providing and what we're seeing
I think that
from the
sounds
school?
right.
All right.
But Chief, can you just think about or look at data to figure out what other streets that you think are possible hazardous routes so that they can make sure that they study them sufficiently?
Yes.
Listen, the way people drive, there's a lot of hazardous routes. Seriously, it's just terrible.
I know. It's just so many cars and so much traffic. And impatience. People are impatient.
Yep.
Okay, speaking of Columbia High School drop-off,
Great lead-in.
Chief, any observations from the police?
Yes. So we, since it started in the beginning, we were kind of giving courtesy to people because trying to get them to figure out where to drop the kids off. But even with that, we issued 8 tickets, moving violations in that area. So I think I think it's going well. I think the hiccup we're having is that there's a lot of construction in that area. That's kind of once they finish that construction, I think it'll be a lot smoother. But it's like those side streets off of Kensington are blocked off almost every day since school started. So that's hurting us in the flow of traffic. So and now we're on Valley Street doing construction. So I think once that clears up, it'll be a lot smoother. But we were over there observing it. Of course, we've left that area for a little while, went over to Seth Boyden. We received a complaint today, but before that, we haven't really received a lot of complaints about the drop-offs. There's still people, of course, that are caught in traffic, might let their kids out, that kind of thing. But
Right.
for the most part, I think it's going pretty good.
We heard this morning at Engineering and Public Works and Planning Committee that the stretch between Academy and Prospect. There's a lot of drop-offs there. So when you're giving these moving violations, what are you giving it for? A Title 39 violation,
Yeah,
correct?
for impeding traffic.
Impeding traffic,
Yeah,
okay.
obstructing
Yeah.
traffic.
Yeah, obstructing, okay.
Yeah.
And
And,
we
and
talked,
I'm sorry,
No, I was
we get the occasional U-turn.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
We talked this morning about taking a look at West Orange because they have a township ordinance about drop-offs. So, and then we can evaluate whether you feel comfortable continuing to do Title 39 or you want to do a township ordinance.
Okay. Yeah, I think the Title 39 has been working well. I mean, we've done it at Seth Boyden, and we've because for the drop offs in front of there, um, we've done a lot of enforcement in front of Seth Boyden. So and a lot of it is impeding obstructing traffic and parking complaints, Brown and those areas. So
Right.
we've been in that area kind of hard the last.
So Chief, are you, when you're saying enforcement, are you issuing tickets or just moving people along?
Yeah, so for the year, from the area from Newark Way to Springfield Avenue, we have issued 55 moving violations in that area. 55.
That's Seth Boyden.
Yeah, in front of Seth Boyden. So that's from Newark Way to Springfield Avenue.
Any at Columbia High School?
Yeah, we've issued since we had this issued 8 moving
8?
since
Okay.
September, since we
You could
started.
probably do like 8 in a day at Columbia.
Yeah, well, in the beginning, it was a new traffic pattern, so we were kind of,
Right, understood.
directing people that way. But
But I think, yeah, the conversation, we've been, all of us on, at these meetings have been incredibly grateful and happy about the increased enforcement for moving violations, like for speeding and other places. So, with this, there's only so much engineering we can do to improve the safety and the compliance to the new drop-off zones. So, at this morning's meeting, we talked about really, in order to make this fully effective, is to get more enforcement. And I think I don't think I'm misreading the room this morning by saying that our engineer plus everyone else on the meeting was fully behind issuing tickets for, instead of just moving people along, actually issuing tickets and making people think twice, just like you think twice when you're speeding and you pass a car, a cop car, like you just know you're not going to do it because you're going to get a ticket. I think
Right.
that is what we're thinking about.
So I think we've been doing very good in front of these 2 schools. So again, in front of Seth Boyden School, from September to now, we've issued 14 moving violations in front of that school. I was out today and yesterday. We issued 6, and we issued 3 parking tickets. So we're getting pushback from some parents. Why are you issuing parents dropping off? And we're on it. So I mean, we've improved.
I guess I just want you to hear that,
Yeah.
for your officers to hear that we are fully behind.
Oh, they know.
We'll take the
Yeah.
heat. People are
The-
like, I got a ticket.
yeah.
You know,
Right. The only issue we're running into is because we have a lot of corners and we have extended times there, and sometimes officers have to cover those corners. So we're
right,
unable to
understood. Totally
we're unable
understood.
to do we're unable to do the enforcement because we're on corners. But when we're off the corners, we are doing enforcement, and we're doing it like on a rotation basis because we can't be,
Right,
like
of course.
everywhere. So we do our best to try to.
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
So Chief, one thing, I know we're using, barricades, the sawhorses with the signs and stuff. It would be useful at some point, for you guys to weigh in on the, viability of using the middle school scissor gate at some of those corners. That one that we have at Salter.
Okay.
So they're going down for possible award, Atlantic City, on the 22nd. They're one of 3 schools in the state for that invention of that scissor gate. So
Okay. Yeah, I just happened to go around there and I saw that. Yeah.
Okay. And just remember that, our plan was to make all these tweaks between now and Halloween to sort of put in place at Halloween. But we heard this morning that enforcement has to be a big part of it, so keep it up, okay?
Yeah. Thank you.
Regarding
Uh,
the timeline, and and the chief talking about all the construction, I'm wondering if we need more time to, see how it's going. I'm just throwing that out there because, I think American Water is still going to go up and do Prospect. I mean, there's just a lot of construction that's kind of impeding this.
I
Right,
think
but
it's suspect, but I agree with Malia that we haven't really seen what the traffic flow looks like because there's been so many closures.
listen, we can put it off. I mean, the problem is at some point you have to say it either works or doesn't work.
Right, I think it works, but I don't know that if there's not going to be more tweaks once all like the roads are
Well,
actually.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
there will always be tweaks, but right now we're kind of figuring out that what we have seems to be working. But I think we have to focus now on some of the enforcement piece and whether we as a township committee need to look at any ordinance changes. We won't be able to do
I'm on
that
board
before
with
the end
that.
of the month, but
Yeah,
yeah.
that sounds good.
Yeah, but as far as and I asked Paul today, we're not going to be putting up any real permanent signs or anything like that. So there's still a lot of possibility, but at some point we just have to say that I think we have to report to the community that, we had this trial run. We think it works, fairly well. But if we want to make some changes going forward, we're still going to reserve the right to make some changes. But
And that it'll work better with ticketing.
what, yes, and with New Jersey American Water out of there.
Yeah, well,
Okay, Seth Boyden. So we're meeting, Chief, next week. We're meeting with the superintendent and principal over there. It would be good to have somebody from the police department join us.
Okay. Well,
I don't remember. Somebody who can talk about traffic. I don't know who it is, but that's at 1 o'clock.
okay.
We're gonna walk through some of the streets there and talk about that, and also talk about, is it possible to carve out some of that front to make drop-offs off street?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, so the next item is no parking signs in residential neighborhoods, and that's my pet peeve. I know it's the mayor's pet peeve also. But on my block, when they were doing the paving on Springfield Avenue, the police came around at midnight and put up cones with signs and stapled stuff to trees and poles saying no parking on the 29th and 30th. It is now October 8th, and those cones are still in the street. Those signs are still up on the poles and trees. We've got to have a process of taking stuff down because people are confused. I went in my stretch of the block, pulled all the cones and put them in front of my house and took down the signs. But up and down in my block, there's cones in the street, they're falling over. People don't know what to do with it. So there's got to be a process that, if you're the last one to put those signs up, you got to be the first one to take them down. Somebody else isn't going to do it.
Gotcha. Yeah, I got
Okay.
a process. Yeah.
All
we'll
right.
yeah.
take care of that.
Beck and I can't keep picking up signs and cones.
Yeah, definitely.
Nobody got time to.
Yeah, and then the longer we take those cones, get feet and walk off, and we start losing some of them. So definitely.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Weary, police off-duty rates.
Yes, thank you. So we, as everyone knows, we went with our outside duty to Jobs for Blue a few months ago. It's been working very, very well. Instead of scheduling through our police department, you now have an app where not just officers from Maplewood, but officers from other municipalities, if Maplewood is not available to cover off-duty assignments, and we're able to do the same in those other communities. It does, everything from vouchering. They put up the payment. They give us totals on payrolls. So it's all very helpful. Previous to Jobs for Blue, the township charged 10% of the fee for an administrative fee, 10% of what we charge for police officer as an administrative fee. When we went to Jobs for Blue, they charge 8%. So right now, instead of us taking 10, Jobs for Blue takes 8%, we take 2%. There is still a expense associated with us administering the program. It's an expense likely larger than, or definitely larger than the 2% that we are currently collecting. So I'd recommend to the committee that we increase the administrative fee. We looked at other communities, we looked at our own expenses. It seems like, kind of where we were looking is the same where other communities have landed, which is that $5 flat fee per hour for an administrative fee. And so that's what we will recommend to the, if this committee is okay with it, that's what we'd like to recommend to the Township Committee for adoption. So it would be, right now that we would change these rates every year, but $95.18 for the officer, $5 administrative fee, $15 an hour for the vehicle fee, and then 8% of the total cost goes to Jobs for Blue.
Anybody have any, so you see it, this is the proposal here. Anybody have any comments, questions? This is your recommendation to us, right, Mr. Weir?
Yes, yes.
I'm sorry, I had somebody come that I haven't seen in a year, just stop in real quick to say hi. So I just wanna, I don't want you to be redundant and we can go over it offline, but I just, is this not inclusive of like municipal rates for our events and things like that?
We're handling our events in-house still. Is that right, Chief? That's my understanding. So,
Yes, we're handling it in-house.
so we don't charge ourselves the administrative fee.
Right, but not just the $5. The general fee is less, no?
For certain events,
For certain events.
like Maple Woodstock, Mayfest,
Right.
things like that. There's a nonprofit,
Yeah,
Okay, that's not on here. That's my
correct.
point. Okay, awesome.
because those are
Okay.
handled in-house.
Okay.
All those are handled in-house?
Yeah, that's right. Chief, my understanding was everything getting the reduced rates handled in-house.
Yes, handling in-house. Those are.
So this is just, so these would be roadworks. The school has a different rate too. Is that handled in-house?
In-house, yeah.
The school's handling in-house as well, yes.
Okay.
So this is, anything from New Jersey American Water to, it could be a private event that requires
Right.
police to be there. Like even, if you're reserving one of our parks and you require police presence, it could be people putting it in their own sewer line out into the street and have a road opening permit. All that will get charged here.
Okay, so are we okay to make a recommendation for that?
Great. We'll have it for
Mayor,
you.
put your thumb up, Ms. Engel.
I can't put my thumb up. I'm not on the committee.
Right. You can go this way or something.
All right, I'll have it for you.
I'm with her.
I'll have it at the next meeting.
Yeah, so should we put this on for discussion?
That's
either
That's what we
that or
normally do.
yeah, that's what I would expect.
We'll put it
Yeah.
on for discussion. I'll report that we make a recommendation to do this, and then we'll agree to have Ms. Credidio do the ordinance, because we have to do this by ordinance.
Yes. And I will email Ms. Fritzen now and ask that this be added as an agenda item
Okay.
for discussion. Yep.
Okay.
Well, she's watching the Yankee game now, so.
All right. So we're going to go to the crime report statistics. That we always like those. Whoops.
My favorite part.
And this year I added this month rather, I added a year. So here are the crime. I added the 2002 numbers. Just to give us a little sense of, give a little more time. So we had an error on this. So, we have 0 homicides at this point, arson, rapes, all 0. One had one and one for the last 2 years. So robberies have gone up. But one of the reasons why I put the 2022 is you can see the pattern of decreasing is really very, very good. Um, you can see all the reductions. So, Chief, you want to talk about any of this?
Yes. So all these except for theft and auto theft were zeros for August. So this is up to August. So the only things that we had a few was theft and auto theft, and we had two auto thefts in August, and both of those auto thefts were at the Wawa with the cars running with the keys inside. So, and as you can see, the thefts went down. We had a few, but it was package thefts for August. So everything else, robberies, homicide, arson, rape, burglary, aggravated assault were zeros. So yeah, they continue to trend down. And
You're talking about September, right?
I think the
'Cause
last
this goes through August.
yeah, till August we had sure. Yeah, for the month of August, the only thing we had was thefts. We had 20 thefts in August and 2 auto thefts in August. Everything else was 0 in August. So we had no robberies or burglaries in August. As you can see, last year we were getting a good amount of burglaries in August, and we're doing real well with that because there are towns around us that are still getting burglaries. So we're doing a good job with the crime stats.
And we had a year-to-year reduction of all incidents of 24%. I did just a calculation of from 2022, it's 35%. So it's a pretty substantial decrease over the years. So I think we're doing very well. Please compliment the officers and just continue to do what you're doing.
Yep, thank you.
Anybody have any comments on this stuff? Still helpful, Deborah?
I do. I still like them. Thank you.
All right, okay. All right.
Congratulations and thank you. Thank you to all the officers for this.
Yep.
Here we go with traffic enforcement. Again, the moving violations are substantial for the first 8 months of the year.
See, August we had the most so far, going up.
Yeah.
We dipped down for a minute, then we came back up, so that's good.
You like this chart, huh, Chief?
Oh yeah.
And then the radar summons is still, a pretty
Yeah.
substantial increase for the first 8 months.
Yeah, the thing with the radar summonses, they're kind of tricky because, again, just you might get pulled over for one situation and then you issue something for something else. So that happens sometimes.
Warning notices, and then just, the big thing is the stops, pretty substantial increase year to year so far in stops. And I know, no one wants to see a police officer pull them over, but we get, it's a day doesn't pass where someone doesn't complain about traffic to us. It's just and a lot of people are working, they're going through our towns, they're coming to shop here, and they just everybody's got to chill out a little bit on the road. So again, compliment the officers for this work. Any comments from other members of the committee on this stuff? Anything you want to see again?
I agree. Good job.
Okay.
It's especially good when they're pulled over on a main street because everyone gets to see it.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, we get a lot of complaints from residents, so it's really good to have this backing up that the enforcement is much higher. So that's a great job.
And Chief, the overtime looks kind of everything's under control there.
Yes, so there's a dip in overtime from last year. Again, our last schedule, we had holes on paper, so we had to fill. With this schedule, we're at least have on paper the start. We don't have overtime to begin each shift, so that's helped.
Any comments about the overtime or any questions? Okay, we have a couple other items and I just have a few to add. So Chief, we introduced the new parking ordinance last night with the parking permits that we talked that you served on the working group with. So now it's a Class C license, a Class C parking permit, which will allow you to park in front of your house overnight. So that'll be up for final on the 21st, and by the end of the month, we should be ready to start issuing those permits. So the clerk's office will work with you on all that.
Okay, yes, Patrick was explaining it today at the department head meeting, so we're ready to go.
And Chief, we've had reports of ICE activities. Can you give us anything about that? Have you heard anything? Have you any interaction with them?
The last
Chief, you muted yourself. There you go. It was so secretive you couldn't even tell us.
They're secretive. So
Yeah, right.
The last time we didn't have any contact with them, but the last report we had that they were here was September 21st on Springfield Avenue, where they took 2 in custody, and so that's the last report we've received of ICE. And they haven't told us the disposition or anything, or anything.
On any of them, right? On any of the ICE abduct. And have they, there's been, to my mind, 6 people taken into custody by ICE in Maplewood?
I can't confirm that right now, but I think it was. I'm not sure. I can't speculate how many exactly.
Okay.
And again, they're not
Yeah.
contacting you beforehand. They're not
No,
including you involved.
not contact them beforehand or after.
Right. Okay.
And the AG's directive hasn't changed.
Has not changed. No.
Okay.
It will.
Yeah, well, it better not.
Let's hope not. Okay.
Hope that
a
was
couple-
a prediction, Mr. DeLuca.
Couple things to add. So we have a rally that's occurring at the Union Hall on Springfield Avenue. They're going to be busing in 2 buses. Chief, I alerted you to this. Do you have any thoughts of where they can park?
I would think they could park in the church lot, but I would have to reach out to the church.
All
I
right.
don't know if that's in the back, maybe.
Can
I don't-
you do that?
Yes.
Is it,
Yes.
is the group able to reach out to the church? They have a contact there?
I don't think they do. I don't know that.
Maybe we could share that with them. I think it might be helpful to put them in direct contact.
Well, if the church says no, we should have a spot on Springfield Avenue.
Oh, yeah, that's easy. That's easy.
Yep.
Yeah. Just because otherwise, we don't want buses driving around looking for parking spaces.
Right.
We're on Tuscan, no? Like, as you come off Spring?
Well, they can park right in front of the church, 2 buses
off, right.
there. 'Cause,
Mhm.
people
Okay.
have to walk. It's 100 people walking back and forth. So,
Mhm.
although they all might want to go to get some ice cream on the corner.
Okay.
All right. So you're gonna give them can you give Mr. Daffis the church contact, because he's in contact with the Union Hall. And then they can check with the church, and then the alternative would be right on the street. Maybe we could cone it off and just tell them that's where the bus will be parking. On Brown Street, you mentioned Brown Street before on the ticketing. We've gotten complaints about people parking too close to the curb, to the corner, and also within 50 feet of the stop sign. Are you on that?
Yeah, we issued a couple the last 2 days on Brown Street.
Okay, okay. And then today I got a email from the MMS principal on Dunnell Road here. Here's the middle school, Maple Avenue here. This part of Dunnell from Maplewood Avenue back to Baker is reserved for commuters.
Mhm,
This part from Maple Avenue down to the end here is reserved for teachers,
mhm,
and it's signed that way.
mhm.
We're hearing that commuters are parking here
Okay.
and teachers are not able to get a spot to park. So if you can have somebody over there to take a look at that,
Yes.
okay?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty clear that this is for teachers. Okay. All right, anything else for the chief? Okay. Patrick, OEM?
Yes, we had the county and the state approve our emergency operations plan, so that is a good step. It's good for 2 years. That has been shared with the deputy OEM coordinators. We'll get some copies printed for town hall, the police department, and the fire department. So everybody will be working off the same documents, and electronic versions of that has been shared with everybody.
And this has to be done again next year, right? Now it's every 2
Two
years?
2 years. So
So it's
in
approved
2 years. It
in
was
2
just approved this
Okay, great.
year,
Great.
effective June. So yeah, so we've got 2 years. So that's
Okay,
good.
that's good.
That is all.
Okay. And any questions for Mr. Weary? All right. I'll go back to, I don't want to share that anymore. Let's see what I want to share. Here we go. Just SEFD. So here are the categories. I changed this a little bit to give you major categories. 32, 87 incidents, January through August. You can see, again, by far it's rescue, emergency, medical. It's interesting that false alarms also pop up there. False calls. These are things that just go off. So, but, that's about it, unless anyone has any questions about SEFD. Maybe at some point we'll get the five firefighters to come and see us. And now Emily has been waiting patiently in the attendee pool. We're going to move her back over to panelists, and she can give us anything, an update or any comments from the community board on police.
Putting on my community board on policing hat for y'all. Hello again. And now I'm Emily on the community board on policing. I really like the numbers too. I heard that Ms. Engel likes the stats. I enjoy seeing those. So thank you for putting those on the screen for me. It's not because I'm a public defender or anything. In terms of updates from the board, we don't have that much. We have a board retreat November 16th. It's open to the public. We also have some vacancies coming up because we have some longstanding members that have done incredible things but are moving on to new things. So if there are community members that are kind of watching this or what have you, I think that's on the township website in some capacity. Pat, I feel like we've talked about that before. So if folks are interested or what have you, that's kind of the big things. But at the retreat, we're really kind of talking about goals for the year and ways to continue to have the board become something that has longevity and ways to maintain and keep building on. So it's kind of where we're at.
So will you be advising us as to the types of skills that you might be looking for in some of the new recruits?
Sure. I mean, I think, there's three kind of avenues that currently as the board we look at. So generally speaking, I sit on the review panel. So the members that are there, we go to the department, we meet with DC Malloy, and review certain matters and kind of make our assessment as to making sure everything is coach, the way that you would want it to be handled, which I will, kudos to the department. We really see excellence in policing those times. We are trying to figure out ways to actually have something for the public and the community to actually see, that we robustly review that information. We are given all sorts of information, reports, camera, but also maintaining confidentiality. We're kind of trying to figure out what that looks like. The other two units, and units is probably a misnomer here, but the other two, one is community kind of building the department with the community and figuring out how that looks. In the past, that's been more about having community forums, but also having interactions with the department, having a presence at community events, being available to our Maplewood residents that maybe wouldn't necessarily feel comfortable going to the township or going to the department, but coming to us, and just trying to figure out how to build that more robustly. Again, I think a lot of this is, I realize it's 5 years post-COVID, but more face fronts trying to figure out how to build that more and more. And then the other part of that is over the years, in particular, our chair, Akasha, has really worked hard on finding ways to have data. I mean, even in this meeting, I think data, having that information, seeing the actual information and using that as an empowering tool for the board in terms of stops and how often they're happening and where they're happening, and kind of having a sense for all of us here about what policing is in Maplewood, and where, we can make it better and stronger and all of that sort of thing. So what we're ideally looking for community members are folks that are invested in the community, that want to be involved in those in those conversations. And I think honestly, it's not like you have to have a law background or anything like that, or law enforcement background. It's more about kind of that relationship building. There are folks that have all sorts of backgrounds on the committee already. There are folks that have more strengths with things like data. That's not my strength. I'm an attorney. That's why I do the reviews, but that does not mean that we're building kind of clear channels to be able to let anybody that's just interested can kind of sit on the board if they're interested. And anyone also can come talk to any of us about what our roles look like. So I don't think it's, at this point, I'm reluctant, Vic, to say that anybody has to have a specific criteria. If there's an interest, to just come reach out to us and we can kind of talk through it.
One of the things that the board is responsible for is the communication with the public about the police too. So maybe getting somebody with some communication skills or presentation skills might be useful too.
That's true. And that wouldn't be me necessarily. So that would be good to have.
Right. You've already said you're an attorney. So.
I'm a public defender, though.
Ah,
so
there you go.
I'm a little different.
Yes, you are. You are. Any questions for Emily?
I think that's a great suggestion to look for a communications background.
Yes, of course, I know. I'm with her. So Emily, I'm going to have you put on your other hat. You heard our conversations about crossing guards and all this other stuff. Any comments about that?
I guess I am curious actually how the district, that conversation about the hazardous root of it all, like what they actually are using, because that would be very interesting to see what analysis that is and how that input is taken. I mean, my intention, because again, I'm sure you can all understand when it's your own kid who you literally see almost get hit by a car, it's not a great place to be. My intention with going to the Board of Ed meeting at the end of next month is to see if they've ever done anything with talking to each school parent body directly, if there's ever been conversations, because Seth Boyden community, we are a robust vocal group, but a lot of us do walk, and a lot of us have talked about things that we're seeing. So I am curious kind of where that is, particularly for families that walk. I don't know north-south in town necessarily, but above Springfield, down Boyden, that walkway too. There's all sorts of pathways that for 8 to 10 year olds where it's like there's things that should come into play. But I think it's great that the committee is looking to kind of overlap. I think it was smart that you guys were deciding not to reinvent the wheel with some study. That data sounds really interesting, though, to kind of see where kids are walking. They are buddying up. But I think also, like I heard you say, Vic, people are crazy with their driving. And like on Tuscan, people pass me. People pass me on the street. People are driving 40 miles an hour. There's just no patience. There's this something that's going on. So in some ways, I recognize that you're also faced with this decision where it's like, we can't stop the crazy. It's just like, how do we make kind of, you can't prevent some of this stuff because people are just bananas on the road right now. But I do think I think the board should kind of hear from parents that have walking kids. There are some major intersections that I think are gapped, particularly for the kids that live off of Tuscan that aren't coming down by Maple Crest, that are coming through Tuscan. And otherwise, because we're not going to send them to cross over Springfield, because that's even scarier. I've watched kids cross Springfield at in between Rutgers and Prospect, and that's always a disaster also. But those are just kids they're not school, they're just kids in the neighborhood. But I think that's the best.
Hopefully with our new paving and our new striping, that will help, because I think it was hard, even though it was decorative and may have looked good. The old way we had Springfield Avenue is you couldn't pick up the crosswalks. So now with the white, bright crosswalks and the high intensity beacons we have on the new flashing pedestrian signs, it should be better. Let's hope. That's the plan.
That's why I would say, I'll probably end up saying this forever until you cut me off with time's up, Emily, but off of Springfield to Tuscan, people really still don't understand the speed limit dramatically drops. And I think signage there would really be helpful, but stop signs also. If there's a world where eventually down the line, there's a conversation, if there's money to be raised, our neighbors are very, creative over here. We've got all kinds of folks that can stick a stick in the ground and put a stop sign up. But
Yeah.
Signage would definitely help too.
Okay. All right.
Sounds like the chief can get a lot of speeding.
Oh my God.
Moving violations if you focus on Tuscan right off Springfield.
All right.
Be nice
We got it. All right, Emily, I am going to cut you off. Thank you. That you did our second public comment. Thank you.
Kick me
You
out.
hit 3 things tonight. So.
Oh God, I'm going to get in trouble. Goodbye. Thank you all.
All right. Thank you. Chief, we spoke last time that you were, and if this is not appropriate I want to talk about vacancies and your recruitment of officers. Is this okay to talk public, or you want to go into private about it? And you're on mute, so I guess you want to go in private about it.
Let's go private.
Okay. So let's see. There's no one else here, so we can get a motion to go into closed session.
I move we go into